Hi, welcome to English 4933. I'm Dr. Flavin, and I'll be your instructor for this course. This is early 20th century horror fiction, and I must read you the course description. English 4933 is an examination of the motifs, modes, and legacy of early 20th century horror fiction and its relevance in modern popular and literary culture. The big question here is, what does that actually mean? What are we doing? This will not be a complete recap of the syllabus. However, I do need to cover some of the high points so that we're all on the same page. That means we're going to be doing a lot of reading. We are going to be examining the work of a number of authors, primarily between 1919 and 1950. The reason for these dates is that it's effectively the golden age of pulp. During this period, new magazines were being founded almost every week. Others were going under. They were being combined with each other, which made for a very, very active literary scene within certain circles. Even within that, we're going to be focusing more specifically on the Lovecraft circle. Many horror fans are familiar with H.P. Lovecraft, or at least his creations such as Cthulhu. Many folks are less well acquainted with the Lovecraft circle. Throughout his lifetime, Lovecraft guided and worked with a number of other authors, some of whom have gone on to become famous in their own rights. August Derleth, Clark Ashton Smith, who is hailed as one of the greats of horror in the 20th century. Robert E. Howard, who's actually better known for Conan, but was a close correspondent of Lovecraft's. A number of others that we're going. Robert Bloch, the author of Psycho, is another member of the Lovecraft circle from very early on. We're going to be reading these, and we're also going to see where this legacy stands in the latter 20th century. The reason for this particular focus is that it provides a very detailed snapshot into how horror as a modern genre has evolved in both America and Britain. We will be reading some late 19th century horror as well to see where the impetus for horror, particularly as expressed by the Lovecraft circle, came from. Reading throughout the golden age of horror and seeing where it winds up. So it's a nice linear arc of how we got where we are. Now, a couple of major points to cover. First of all, since we cannot actively replicate the discussion that I usually favor in my courses, I've set up a number of discussion threads on the forums on Blackboard. You will be expected to check these, you will be expected to respond, you will be expected to post. More details on that to follow. For this course, 4 books. Ross Lockhart's The Book of Cthulhu. That's later 20th century horror. These are the folks who see them carrying on the Lovecraftian legacy into the late 20th and so far early 21st century. Tales of the Cthulhu Mythos. These are the core stories. H.P., Bloch, Derleth, Smith, Henry Kuttner. The list goes on. We will be reading most of that book. The complete works of H.P. Lovecraft. I'm providing the e-text free in the archive. I will also be posting a number of other items there that may be of interest to the course as a whole. So, check it. Part of the reason I wanted to give you a free e-text of the entirety of H.P.'s Lovecraft cycle and all of his other works is to see both the diversity of the author and to have an alternate text, because as we will be discussing in this course, a number of the texts that we are reading have been heavily edited after the author's lifetimes. Also, famous fantastic mysteries, 30 great tales of fantasy and horror from the classic pulp magazines. That's the foundational text. These are the older stories. These are the underpinnings for the golden age of pulp. Required for the graduates, but highly recommended for the undergraduates, is Timothy Beale's Religion and Its Monsters. The reason I highly recommend that for the undergraduates is a lot of the theoretical modes, a lot of the analysis which Beale engages in, speaks directly to some of the key points we're going to be discussing in terms of the primary authors we're reading. Because when you're dealing with horror, particularly something like the Lovecraft mythos, something that has a religious overtone assigned to it, whether or not it was intentional, which is another point we'll be discussing throughout the course, you need to have some theory. You need to have some underpinnings to it. The other major thing a number of you have been curious about, the course is divided into effective modules, roughly a module per week. What this means is there's going to be quizzes. There's going to be individual calendars for each week. That will become self-evident once you actually see the materials as they're posted. The postings on the forums and online engagement do count for part of your grade, but the research essays are always the big thing. How are the research essays going to work? Well, those of you who have a theoretical background, this is going to be easy. We only have 8 weeks. So it's going to be a modified portfolio system. Option A, you take the same piece and work it through 4 theoretical lenses. 3 to 5 pages per lens, break it down, pretty straightforward. Option B, take 4 separate pieces and put them through effectively the same reader response. Analyze them as you would in another literature class. There is a specialized writing option for English Ed, but in those cases I would encourage you to contact me directly, because we will need to make arrangements for that fairly early on. Beyond that, I think those are the nuts and bolts as far as the syllabus goes. I would encourage you to read the entire syllabus. It is available on Blackboard as you have time, because there are some other finer points which you may need clarification on. Other than that, glad you're here. Looking forward, and I hope you're looking forward to this class half as much as I am.